sometimes even just $5 or $10. Every little bit helps. And without support, Ancient Faith Radio would cease to exist. Would you please take a moment right now to add your contribution, those of the other faithful AFR fans, help keep such shows as Everyday Orthodox on the air. It's an easy process. Just go to ancientfaith.com and click on Donate in the right-hand corner. Be a participant. Be a partner. Become an Ancient Faith Radio donor today. Thanks in advance for your generosity.
Linking the ancient Christian faith with modern technology. You're listening to internet-based Ancient Faith Radio.
It's time now for Stewardship Calling with your host, Bill Marianis. Bill is a stewardship evangelist whose Stewardship Calling ministry is focused on helping people, parishes, and Christian organizations discover and live their stewardship callings and embrace true stewardship and generosity that they may have a good account before the awesome seat of Christ. Here's Bill.
Leadership. What a critical word. What an essential word. No intentional purpose or destination is ever reached by a group without a leader. According to academic experts, the root of the word leadership, lead, has a history of change in both form and meaning. Its origins around 800 ACE to its evolution in the concept of leader, and finally to leadership in the current century. The root of leadership is lead, believed to be from actually an Anglo-Saxon English word, which means to travel. The Oxford English Dictionary's first entry for the word lead is from 825 ACE with a meaning defined as, and I quote, cause to go along with oneself, to bring or take a person or animal to a place, end quote. But of course, being Greek and believing is stated by the father in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding that every word has Greek origins. I researched some more ancient and historical reference, and of course, as it turns out, the Greek root for the word leader, anax, is ancient Greek word for tribal chief, lord, or military leader. And it's the two titles that were traditionally translated as king, the other one being Vasileus. And it's inherited from Mycenaean Greeks and is notably used Homeric Greek for Memnon. So I can see that my guest tonight, Melinda Johnson, the new leader of Ancient Faith Ministries, will now want us to refer to her as Queen Melinda or the tribal chief. So by now, hopefully you've figured out that tonight I'll be talking about leadership with a new leader. Leadership is an issue, critical part of my Stewardship Calling ministry and our active parish assessment. And tonight, we're going to talk with the new CEO. And for all you comedians out there, I don't mean a Christmas and Easter Orthodox. A woman who has accepted one of the greatest leadership challenges is in orthosphere, as I refer to our national and global environment which Orthodoxy lives. Now, if you're listening to the program, you've found Ancient Faith Radio. Just one platform of the Ancient Faith Ministry juggernaut. The upcoming December 7th, 2022 Stewardship Calling program right here on Ancient Faith Radio is going to feature my interview with the founder and chief visionary of the Ancient Faith franchise. And what an amazing visionary John Maddox is. You see, one of those difficult leadership challenges is to follow a legend. It's what we call a Bear Bryant syndrome, named after the legendary college football coach at Alabama, who led them to so many championships and successes. I mean, who wants to coach a team or lead a team after a legend that was a perennial champion? That's a lot of pressure. And it takes a very special person to undertake such a feat. But the leader we're going to interview tonight was personally chosen by our legendary leader, John Matt himself. And that certainly says a lot in and of itself. In my Stewardship Calling ministry, I spent a lot of time working in the Orthodox parishes, dioceses, metropolises, and other entities on leadership development training and all that means. The effective assessment that Orthodox Ministry Services is available for free to all parishes, as was discussed on 2 Stewardship Calling programs right here on Ancient Faith Radio, Part 1 on July 31st, 2022, and 2 August 3rd. They focused on one of the most critical of the pillars of an effective parish, and then that's leadership and teams. And some of you who are regular listeners to Stewardship Calling or who've attended my in-person programs know that even after receiving an MBA about 10 years ago and serving over 30 years in leadership to global law firms, I realized that there's so much more to learn. And so I enrolled in a Doctor of Strategic Leadership program. So hopefully you can tell that leadership is a really big deal to me, a critical issue to every organization, nonprofit, church, parish, and frankly, every one of your businesses. Think about every problem in your community or a business that employs you or that you run or a nonprofit that you support or even a parish that you attend. A vast majority of those problem issues could be solved or improved by great leaders leading great change. So if you want to hear about leadership and the vision of the new Chief Visionary Officer of Ancient Faith Ministries, you've tuned in to the right program. Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to Stewardship Calling in the 5th Sunday series here on Ancient Faith Radio. This is Bill Marianis from stewardshipcalling.com coming to the shores of beautiful Lake Lanier in Gainesville, just north Atlanta. I have a simple premise that you have been called by your Creator to a personal calling, a reason to your life and a reason for your life, something you need to do with all the gifts over which God has made you a steward. And that's why I call it your Stewardship Calling. You see, St. Paul makes it crystal clear over and over again, various letters to the nations, but the one I cite the most is from chapter 4, verse 1, where he states, I beg you to lead worthy of the calling to which you have been called. So until 2017, by day, I was blessed to be a partner in 2 great international law firms of over 11 lawyers each, where I served in management, including as managing partner of our Atlanta office, practices in the area of acquisitions and corp law. But my personal calling is to be a stewardship calling evangelist. I'm here to help people in parishes discover and live their stewardship callings so they may have a good account before the awesome judgment seat of Christ, as we do everything we can to try and follow Christ's great command to love one another, his great charge to serve one another, and his great mission to make disciples of all nations. Welcome to that journey. This program and hopefully a lot of other helpful tools and information about effective churches and stewardship and church strategic planning and servant leadership and other topics can be found at my always free website, stewardshipcalling.com, and you can always reach me at bill@stewardshipcalling.com. But tonight, all of our listeners, I want you to join us by calling in and interacting with my special guest. You can call in at 1-855-AF-RADIO. That's 1-855-223-2346. In 2017, sixth edition of a book called The Leadership Challenge by James Kouzes and Barry Posner was published. And well, there are a lot of great books about leadership that I love. If I were limited to only one recommendation, this would be the book. I personally, it's kind of required reading for every leader, whether it's in your business or a nonprofit or a parish or a ministry. And for those of you who do not have time to read this book, please let me share with you a few gems from the Bill Marianis Cliff Note version of Kouzes and Posner's great book. And I'm going to start with one of my favorite quotes. In the end, leaders don't decide who leads, followers do. The word story is short for the word history. Both have the same root and fundamentally mean the same thing. Story is a narrative of an event or series of events, just like history. Only those leaders boldly in times of crisis and change are willing followed. And leading by example is more effective than leading by command. The best way to lead people into the future is connect them deeply in the present. It always takes a group of people working together with a common purpose in an atmosphere of trust and collaboration to get extraordinary things done. And in their book, A Legacy, Kouzes and Posner state, and again, I'm going to quote it, lead and encourage others to continue the quest and inspire others through courage and hope. Leaders give heart by visibly recognizing others' contributions to the common vision. Whether it's thank you note, a smile, an award, and public praise, leader lets others know how much they mean the organization. End quote. And then in the book later, they say, quote, the leadership challenge, get extraordinary things done in organizations. They say, we have to recognize that however smart we are, We're not smarter than everyone else combined. We can't lose sight of the fact that how important our contributions are. We couldn't have gotten anywhere without the help and work of lots of people. Perhaps most meaningful to my guest tonight, Kuza Posner wisely pointed, and I love this quote, there is no freeway to the future, no paved highway from here to there. There's only wilderness, uncertain terrain. There are no roadmaps, no signposts, so pioneering leaders rely on a compass and a dream. Think about that for a second, my brothers and sisters. As you started on any journey that was big or unimportant, there was always a of a compass, something to help you through a direction out, and a dream and a vision of where you wanted to go. But Kuza go on to say, striking how our language reveals the visual nature of our thoughts about the future state of affairs. When we invent the future, we try to get a mental picture of what things will be like long before we've begun the journey. Visions are our windows on the world of tomorrow. Let me say that again. Visions are our windows on the world of tomorrow. What's your vision? What's the vision of your church? What's the vision of the ministry? What's the vision of your business? What's the vision of your family? Is it clear? Do you know it? Can you articulate it? Can you feel it? Can you see it? Have you your compass ready to help you on the journey? That's part of what we talk when we think about the concept of leadership. And every human being is a leader at one time or another, and sometimes for all times. So I'm hoping that you agree that Kuza and Posner kind of nailed it, that being a leader of people and a vision carries a lot of responsibility. Being a leader of ministry, supporting Christ, is even more of a sacred responsibility than most jobs, particularly in today's world. Let me give you a data point. Every second of every day, as of the last count, 8.1 hours of content is uploaded to YouTube. Let me repeat that. 8.1 hours of content is uploaded to YouTube every second. 8.1 hours of content has just been uploaded to YouTube. Another 8.1 hours of content has just been uploaded to YouTube. Another 8.1 hours of content has just been uploaded to YouTube. How much of that do you think is good orthodox theological content? And even though this program and the other Ancient Faith live shows are currently being streamed on YouTube, the answer is, we're still not making a dent. And to give you even more data, you understand the significance of the challenge that faith ministries and other Earth-sphere contributors face. 62% of consumers say they use YouTube, making it the second most popular search engine behind Google. YouTube has over 2.6 billion, and that's with a B, users worldwide. Do you see the reach of the world AI can have? And that's just one of the many platforms Ancient Faith Ministries uses to reach you and to help you, including self-published books. The current estimate is that about 4 million books are published globally each year. And to put some perspective, an ISBN number is essentially it's a unique identifier number that's placed on each book that is used by publishers and others. So in 2018, which is the last year I could find this data, there were almost 3.5 million ISBN numbers issued in the United States alone for new books. Let that sink in. Y'all a lot of reading to do. Going further, in January of this year, there are estimated to be over 600 million blogs globally. 600 million blogs. And the estimate is that there are 8.28 million blog posts published each and every day. So, while books have been around since old Gutenberg invented his printing press in 1450, the YouTube blog platforms are fairly new phenomena. And yet look at how they have exploded to exponential levels in just a matter of a few decades. And this is just part of the media through which my guest tonight has to now navigate ancient faith ministries. In the exponential times in which we live, the most critical skill a leader must acquire, in great amounts, I would tell you, is comfort with change. British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill said, "To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often." And that's a lot like an old proverb that, quote, a wise person changes their mind while a fool never will, end quote. And one of my favorites, leadership author John Maxwell once famously said, change is inevitable. Growth is optional. About that. The change is nothing is happening around us in such a rapid pace that things are changing. But when we grow, whether we move into that, whether we lean into that change and use it for the positive vision that is before us, that growth that we want, well, that's a choice. So to grow what we are blessed to inherit requires a different mindset. But philosopher C.S. Lewis gives us the capstone by reminding us that on the journey of change, quote, there are far better things ahead than any we leave behind, end quote. And if you don't believe that, then maybe you're just not to lead. Now, look, I can go on describing the leadership and other opportunities for my guest tonight, but I want to save the rest of the time for my dialogue with Melinda Johnson. So please let me share a little of her fascinating and quite diverse background. So my guest, Melinda, and our new Ancient Faith Ministry leader, most recently served as the Director of Communication for Ancient Faith Ministries, where she managed the day-to-day operations of digital and communications and campaigns. And she interfaced with everyone who was responsible for planning and executing Ancient Faith Ministries' critical in-person events and conferences and retreats that so many of you may have attended. In fact, was just got a call and an email from a friend and someone who'd been on this program who just heard about the conference, the latest conference, and decided to go and was so moved by what happened. That's a byproduct of Melinda's great work. But prior to that, she also served as Faith Radio's marketing director, who was responsible for public-facing communications and relationships on all of these multiple platforms that I alluded to. Now, she also designed and implemented projects to expand the ministry outreach to Orthodox Christians and seekers, including via social ministries, communications, and content contributor networks and online events and partnerships with church organizations. So you can see this kind of broad perspective learning of the Ancient Faith Ministries platform. But in the 3 years prior to her tenure at Ancient Faith Ministries, Melinda also served as Director of Operations and Blog for Orthodox Christian Network, where she was responsible for content planning and publication schedules, high traffic international website and multimedia. And she also edited all the written content published on the website. So that's a lot of work. Prior to that, and prior to work in Orthodox Media Ministry, Melinda was a freelance editor for 9 years and previously served at Digital Med Inc., where she was responsible for first and second level editing of online multidisciplinary continuing education course materials for nurses. And we all know how important nurses are in our medical profession, where frankly, we got more advice with them sometimes than with our doctors. So the digital med work is somewhat explained by her previous gig in the 2 years where she spent working for the National Board of Medical Examiners, providing extensive content and format editing, as well as distribution of training materials and other documents related to National Medical Licensing Examination pilot. Melinda also facilitated organization and production of medical education refunds, call for proposals, and in a lot of other capacities. So you can feel free to call tonight and ask Melinda tell her whatever ails you, and maybe she can provide you a diagnosis. But in all seriousness, prior to her work at the National Board of Medical Examiners, she also worked at the National Research Council of the National Academy of Sciences. And with all that writing and media experience, it won't surprise you to find out that Melinda has a Master of English Literature, prestigious College of William & Mary, and a Bachelor of Art in English Literature from the University of Richmond. In both academic environments, she achieved the highest levels of academic excellence. But Melinda, too, is a believer in lifelong learning, and thus is currently pursuing nonprofit management certificate at the University of Pacific in Stockton, California. But there's so much more about complex Melinda Johnson that her great academic accomplishments and work experiences don't even get to. So I'm going to extract these fascinating details in cross-examination. In the view that follows. So I'm going to take a short break right now, and in return, I will start the discussion with my special guest, Melinda Johnson, the recently announced new head of Ancient Faith Ministries. And please remember that we'd love to hear from you. So call in tonight at 1-855-AF-RADIO. That's 1-855-237-2346. So let's take a short break, and we'll be right back with Melinda.
We'll be right back. But lines are open if you want to ask a question or offer your thoughts. The number is 855-237-2346. That's 855-AAF-RADIO.
Do you know that Ancient Faith Radio is entirely listener-supported? Hi, I'm Bobby Maddox, manager of AFR, and you heard me right. All of those podcasts you love, the live shows, the conferences, audio documentaries, and the videos, they exist because of the listeners you, who took the time and minimal effort required to send us $5. That's how this ministry operates, in partnership with you, the AFR listener. In partnership with you, the AFR listener. Without these donations, both big and small, it is no exaggeration to say there would be no Ancient Faith Radio. No Lord of Spirits or Live with the Low, no Saint of the Day or Daily Orthodoxers, no Father Topko or Father Evan Armitage or Dr. G. Constantino. Just be silence. Let's never let this happen, shall we? Together, let's continue to sustain AFR and even perhaps expand its offerings with contributions of any amount. Simply go to ancientfaith.com and click on Donate in the upper right-hand corner. Be a participant. Be a become a donor. Join those Ancient Faith Radio possible. Thanks in advance for your generosity.
Stewart calling back, and we are ready your call at 855-237-2346. That's 55 AF Radio. Here again is Bill Marianis.
Welcome to Stewardship Calling and our fifth Sunday program, where I'm speaking with Melinda Johnson, the new CEO and what I call Chief Visionary Officer of Ancient Faith Ministries. Please, we'd love to hear from you. So if you want to talk to Melinda, please call in tonight at 855 AF Radio. That is 1-855-237-2346. All right. So with all of the previous groundwork having been laid, Melinda Johnson, new Chief Visionary Officer and CEO of Ancient Faith Ministries, it's my pleasure to finally welcome you to Stewardship Calling Live on your Ancient Faith Radio platform.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'm looking forward to being here and talking with you.
Well, excellent. I really appreciate you making the time. In the course of transition, there's a lot of pressures on somebody, and so for you to dedicate this on a Sunday evening is really appreciated. Now, I always like to start by reminding listeners that there's so much more to human being, whatever their CV says about them. So I'd like you to kind of start from your trip down the birth canal to the present day and provide us some more color about your story, your upbringing, your background, anything that we can do to get to know MJ better.
Well, I love that you used the word story. I was sitting here listening to your thoughts about leadership tickets. Lots of really good, pithy, small statements. It's a huge reality. And I think that story has been a keynote of my existence since I was aware that I had an existence. I remember when I was a very little girl, one of 4 children. My mama is a teacher. My daddy is a research scientist. And I was raised in a home where thoughts and ideas and beliefs and vision were very much valued. And so was story. And I remember being sent to take the trash from the house driveway to the garage and dump it in the big trash can. So I was by myself walking. I've been 4 or maybe 5 years old. And I realized I was walking.
Big job for a 4-year-old, huh?
It was a big job. I mean, trash getting into the right place is important. Yeah. I was trusted with that. It was my leadership, right? Taking action.
Yeah, exactly. But
as it's from those little roots, right? So I'm walking down the driveway, and I remember it was quiet. My assorted brothers and sisters were not with me. I realized that in my head, I was narrating what was happening. I was saying to myself, I have
really?
I'm walking down the driveway and I'm going to go put it. And I had this amazing moment of awareness that I was telling a story, like that I was a story. I was listening to a story in my mind, that I was concocting what was happening. Like it was just this sort of multi-dimensional moment. And then, I emptied, went back in, and I went back to being life. But like here I am as an adult, and it's still there. And I think that so much of the way I see my upbringing had to do with that story and my awareness getting bigger and bigger, and my realization that other people's stories that they were narrating in their minds, that they were experiencing, as my powers of observation grew, that one of the things I do with them is to learn about other people's stories and to be able to tell them. And I think that my dad read to us from the time we were tiny. There were 4 of us, 2 years apart. So
where were you in the birth order?
I'm number 2. So there's 3 girls and then a boy, and I was the middle daughter but there's not a middle. There's 4, but there
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of was.
yeah.
So I'm the kind of middle. So she's trying to make her, and there was a lot of, this is before technology existed, right? Tapes.
Right.
She read all of our favorite stories, cassette tapes, and then she would stories and turn the pages, right?
So you were doing audiobooks before they were a thing.
Before my mom was an audiobook part was a thing, yes.
Oh my gosh, what a great story.
Right? And my
now I'm
dad like read aloud, just like there was just story there in my upbringing. Yes.
Can I for a second?
Yeah, sure.
I want you to go on. I mean, I want you to go on, but I really want to go back because you said something that I honestly don't think I have heard anyone ever say before. And so, it's either very important or it's just an interesting fact, right? So I'm going to assume that it's very important. I don't know that 5-year-olds. I don't even know if 50 or 70-year-olds are actually cognizant of narrating the story of their life as they're going to it. Have you met other people that think that way and that hear that voice in their head telling the story of their life as it happened, or do you really find more people just kind of rushing through life, kind of just on a journey somewhere without being clear?
I think people are different. Not, it's not something that I've
wait. Can I quote you?
Yeah, no.
I'm writing that one down.
Bill.
People
The
are
first
different.
Person noticed that, Bill.
I like that.
Well, but I think, and our storytelling is different. So
yeah.
I've had the pleasure of being around many very educated people, literate people, articulate, creative. And I think that they might not say, one of my aunts is an artist, for example. So I don't know that she was narrating her story, but perhaps her story is visual when she's
that's right.
in the world, right? Or I've heard
visual
of
kinesthetic, sure,
right? Like people who are portrait painters who are always looking at faces.
Yeah.
Right. So their story is a series of faces, looking for faces that they feel are full of joy that they want to paint. So I don't actually know where, everybody's walking around aware of it, but I do think we are, and I think that often the conversations we have with other people, whether we realize it or not, reflect the way that we describe the situation to ourselves, right? Like our perspective of whether we realize we put words to it or not, we have told ourselves a story about what's happened. And we're responding much to that inner story as to what's going on around us, in my opinion.
You got jobs to do now, but I think I just created a new one for yourself. I think it would be fascinating if you could figure out a way to articulate what went on, what your realization is at age